Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's bi-weekly Gentian updates. And we are glad to have you here with us today. Thank you for spending time with us. For the next half hour or so, we're going to talk about topics that are happening in the world, happening in the markets, happening in planning, everything that we feel that you should be, aware of and thinking about, and some ideas for you as well. So beautiful Wednesday morning here. And what we like to do, as you know, at Gentian, we love to go big. We love to begin in gratitude, gets us in a good space, gets us in thinking of good things right now, things that we're grateful for. And one of the things that I can kick off it with is my health. So very, very grateful for my health. When we have it, we love it, and we know we have it. And when you don't have it, it's the one thing we want to get back right away. And so for those who are going through health issues, family members, clients, friends, coworkers, whatever the case is, we offer you some hope and prayers out there, because when we don't have our health, it's the one thing that we want to get back. So grateful for my health. So Zach, how about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Ken. For those of you on the webinar last week, you might have heard Chris say that I had a 100-mile ultra marathon on Saturday. And what I'm grateful for is the opportunity to not necessarily reach a goal. So I was out there in the heat for about 11 hours, got to mile 50, and was like, I don't have a strong enough why to be out here for 13 more hours and to push through this. So I think 2 years ago, it would have really, really bothered me. But at this time, it was just kind of like, huh, that's all right. Failure is just a stepping stone to the next thing, or what can I pull from this to learn to the next one? And so many things went extremely well that it was really only the mindset wise. So it was really eye opening of just your body can be ready, you can be physically there, but if your mindset isn't the one that you're focused on, it's the most important factor. So I'm extremely grateful for the opportunity to fail, if you will, and to learn and to grow.
Thank you, Zach. We appreciate that. And yeah, absolutely. I mean, hey, 50 miles is still a heck of an accomplishment, but it really comes back to the why. And we'll talk about the why a little bit more today as we talk about market volatility and things of that nature. Michael Birschbach, how about yourself?
Thanks, Ken. I'm grateful for an experience we had last week as a team. We had True Wealth Mentorship and Empowered Wealth come in, a couple of other advisor teams, and just the learnings that come from that, not only on a personal but professional level, but the opportunity to share those with some of our clients and pass those on. It's even 1 week later, it's a little bit mind blowing for me, but just really cool stuff. So grateful for that experience.
Yeah, it's really nice, Michael. Yeah, the True Wealth group that we studied with is fantastic. And again, kind of, you guys are bringing up some great topics that we'll talk a little bit about a little later in the program today, about the markets and congruency of what your why is and things of that nature. So very good. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Lisa, how about yourself?
Hi, thanks, Ken. Yes, I am grateful for the city of Milwaukee and all the things to do in this wonderful time of the year when summer and all the activities that you get to do. And you don't appreciate it when we're going through that winter time, but it's a beautiful city when you get out there. So I'm very grateful to live in this wonderful city and enjoy it. So that's what I'm grateful for. Thanks, Ken.
Very good, Lisa. Yeah, Milwaukee is like one of the smallest, biggest cities or whatever they say it is. And there's a lot going on in Milwaukee, which is fantastic. So
Exactly.
Chris, how about yourself? What are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful to be on the call this morning. I'm grateful to be taking my daughter to University of Iowa next week on Wednesday. That's a huge milestone in our house to have her in my house for 18 years and now be sending her off. Yes, sending her off to University of Iowa to start the fall semester. The time is drawing near, so every morning and every day is now precious as she's spending the last full-time days in our house.
Wow, thank you, Chris. Yeah, I can only imagine what that feels like in your house right now and how you feel as a dad going through all that. So it's one of those moments where, I'm sure it's pretty emotional. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. We appreciate that. So yes, it's that time of year again where we start to think about going back to school. We start buying the school supplies that, your grandkids, your kids, it's that time where we start sending off our loved children to college and to have them experience their journey as well. So it's that time of year again right now. So enjoy it. Enjoy the process of it all and enjoy the time that we have with them. So what you're seeing right now is you're seeing some market volatility. I think that's in the last couple of days, it's really come to the forefront. Even though I know all of you do not watch the news, It's almost hard if you are connected in some way not to hear what's going on. You hear these things, the market gets routed. You hear these wild words that get used, and sometimes it can put us into the panic. And it really goes to kind of come back to this thing that Michael talked about and Zach talked about as our why. We're the how for you. We know how to get through these times. We're built for this. Our team is built for market volatility. If we are in it, if a recession comes about, which is inevitable at some point in time, it's been talked about for almost 4 years now. We're built for this. Your portfolio is built for this. We've thought about this quite a bit. We have extensive years on this as well. And so we're the how to get through this. One thing to keep in mind if you can, and sometimes it's a little bit challenging as everything kind of hits us at one time, we start hearing about our money. It appears to be temporarily disappearing. We're maybe retiring. There's a lot of emotions built into that. But we're the how. We know how to get through that for you, and we're here for you there. Don't forget about your why. Don't forget about the idea of this true wealth of when you think of, the group we just went through is, the questions are like, what do you value more than money? What do you really enjoy doing in your life that really has meaning? That's your why. And so when we go through these times in period of times, don't forget about what your why is. Is it your family? Is it spending time with them? Is it taking that one trip that really, we all took that one trip that was a great experience. We all got along, the conversation flowed. It's just a wonderful experience. How do we get back to that? Those are the things that we remember the most. So take the time, enjoy the day. We understand this piece for your financials. I know it's difficult, but we are certainly here for you as we go through all this and as we go through some of this market volatility that we're seeing. Markets have been up for the last couple of days too, so we're seeing maybe a little bit of a rebound there as well. So keep your why in mind, and we'll keep in the how. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about the market, Zach. What's going on in the markets, what we're seeing, and enlighten us there, please.
Sounds great, Ken. I really appreciate it. As normal, kind of go through exactly where we're at for the year, and then a few timeless principles that we review and constantly look through, kind of talking about what lifeboat drills are and kind of what we're doing behind the scenes. And then kind of a really cool perspective fact as well that I was able to find from MFS by the numbers, which I always enjoy going through. So we'll start with the Dow Jones. The Dow Jones is up about 3.5% on the year, about 3.5% pullback from 2 weeks ago since our last webinar. The S&P 500 right around 10% positive for the year. So really a phenomenal year and one of the best starts that we had, but about a 6%, 7% pullback just in the last 2 weeks. The NASDAQ, which is again 50% weighted towards technology, was up about 20% as of 2 weeks ago, and now it's 9% for the year. The Russell 2000, which is smaller size companies, saw an unbelievable rebound that we talked about 2 weeks ago and is now up about 1.5%, but it was 10 2 weeks ago. So those smaller size companies, they can move really, really quick both directions. International, about 1.5%. It was about 5 2 weeks ago. The emerging markets, right around 2.5%, and was up about 6% 2 weeks ago. So one of those timeless principles that Chris talked about with us for many, many times, and we talked about it during COVID as well when things were really, really uncertain in many different ways, is that volatility often equals return. What's fascinating is that after some of the worst market days of the year, the best days actually occur. And really one of our favorite things to look at is how necessary and normal these mini pullbacks are throughout the year. And really, it kind of reminds me of the annual end of the world, if you will. And we talk about it in a lot of our forums and meetings. But we have an average annual drawdown of over 14% at some point during the year since 1980. Yet the market averages a return of 9% total for that year. So it just kind of shows our recency bias is at play. If we can take a step back and our recency bias goes, oh man, look at all this volatility. It was up. We had really a lot of volatility this entire year, but it was an upward direction. So we really had a phenomenal year still. And given those numbers, I said, if we said that at the end of the year, we'd be happy as can be. So it's really funny how the media plays on our emotions. We kind of had the political side pulling into things too, which kind of muddies the water a little bit. And then, as I mentioned, those lifeboat drills, I'm sure Chris and Ken can expand on it a little bit more, but what we're always doing behind the scenes isn't saying, oh my gosh, this is great. Look how great the markets are. It's all right. Not if we have the correction, but when we have the correction already for conversion planning, if that makes sense for your scenario, tax loss harvesting, rebalancing, taking a look at different asset classes that we might have at play in different areas, or reevaluating our cash balances that are out there as well. And then really the kind of perspective fact, I love the title of it, and it's not as bad as it looks. So bear with me as I kind of give this fact, because it's a lot of details in a very short phrase here. But the S&P 500 fell 2.3% on July 24th, despite almost a third of the stocks in the index rising on that day. It was the fifth best breadth of the market return across the 314 trading days that have seen a drop of 2% since 1990. So in very quick summary, when some of these very, very large companies now, over $1 trillion valuation, $2 trillion, in some cases, when they move 20 or 30% in a month, it may seem like a lot bigger deal than it really is. And a lot of companies could still be doing extremely well during that time. So I really loved reading that fact. And with that, Ken, I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, very good, Zach. Thank you very much for the in-depth knowledge on the markets there. We certainly do appreciate that. And yeah, it's owning great companies and owning them for a long time is really the key to all this. And we're gonna hit these dips from time to time. It's not easy to go through, as some of you know. It can be an emotional roller coaster at times, but we're here for you to make sure that we do have that faith, patience, and discipline that we do talk about, because we know at the end of all this, that is some of the keys to get us through all this and to focus on those moments and memories that matter the most to you as well. So to have that congruency as well. So we do have our very own Chris Doty on the call today, and I'd like to hear. So maybe we switch now. So is this Chris's corner or
Chris's corner with a C?
With a C. Okay, got it. So this is replacing Ken's corner with a K here. So
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Morning, Chris.
Well, thank you, Ken. So just a couple things. Today I'm actually off on holiday to prepare my daughter for heading out to college. However, I did feel it was important enough with what's been going on to just offer some perspective. The guys, I mean, really have incredible, news, information, great perspective to offer. It's just something I might be able to add as well, being around for 100 years in the market. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, 30 years in the market as well. But a couple things I wanted to just say. I really wanted to echo Zach's idea too about the 14.4% annual end of the world. Ken normally covers it at our forums. Many of you could give it as well. But it's hard to watch the movie when you're in it. So for instance, if I have a friend who was in movies, and whenever I saw her in the movies, it ruined the entire movie because that was just my friend, not the actress. Same thing happens also when you're in the markets. When you're in it and you hear Nvidia's down 40 points or 50 points from its high, you think the world is ending. But like Ken said, a third of the stocks were up in the market. You forget that perspective. So one thing, we have a catastrophist media who's all about 30 years old. They've not been in the market for multiple decades. They've not been in it for multiple market cycles. They are in a market with which they believe it is brilliance and it's actually just a bull market. What does that mean? They believe that what's been going on has been their own brilliance. Why? Because I suffered from it in 1994 when I got in the market, in the industry. Sorry, not the market, but the industry. I thought, oh man, we're brilliant. I could just pick stuff. I'm so good at this. This is amazing. And then you're humbled immediately by 2000. Humbled again by 2009. You realize that planning and perspective are much more important than any individual stock pick, and the longevity. I think we had this before. How many corrections, of the corrections over the last 100 years, how many corrections have been permanent? Oh, that's right. 0. So as a matter of fact, in the markets, 100% of the corrections have resulted in a higher result. I'm going to change the words to celebrate corrections. I might even change the word corrections to complications. They're just simply a complication in your long term. So one word we've been using a lot lately is complications. Life is complications. You set a plan and immediately something complicates it, gets in your way, gets in your, and that's what the market does as well. Let me give you a sample. I was just out the other day, the other evening, if you will, and somebody said, hey, what do you think about the markets? Because everywhere I go, that's the question that I get. And I embrace it. First, well, I think the markets are, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, oh, I think the market's going to correct. Do you? I go, yeah, I do. The difference between you and I is I have no idea when, and you think it's going to be tomorrow. The difference is we know markets correct for health. We think it's extremely important. I think a couple of things I wanted to look at too here, and just in my perspective, is if you ever looked around elections, and I don't want to go too deep into this, as I know the guys have great perspective on this, around elections about this time, 2 to 3 months ahead of time, especially as a presidential candidate has dropped out, who was, one of the lead candidates, to another candidate, you've got some confusion. You've got two diametrically opposed candidates as well, really flinging, bad words at each other. So interesting to watch. You've got some trepidation. One day last week, Japan was down 12% in a day. People go, oh my gosh, is this 1987? No, it's 2024. It's going to be its own correction. The people come back to those ideas. Remember, they anchor in bad things that they've seen in the past. A couple of different ideas as well is, I think if Ryan did a wonderful study for us on the company Netflix. So NVIDIA is something that everybody owns now. NVIDIA is kind of the new Apple, right? I know I can't mention these. There's a semiconductor company out there that's like the new fruit company that everybody used to own. Maybe that's a better way of saying it. And with it, people look at these kind of things, and there are 50% corrections on a pretty consistent basis over the long-term rise of 200,000% or whatever the numbers become. You just have to know with that upside volatility goes both ways. I wanted to say one more piece on this as well. I remember if you were on his call, maybe a few months ago, we are in the midst of a Gutenberg moment like we've never seen before. I wanted to bring this back to it. That doesn't mean everything's going to be rosy. A Gutenberg moment here is something where artificial intelligence, like the printing press in 1440, is changing every industry it's in. You get the introduction of it and things fly. Oh my gosh, this is great. This is awesome. And then you get the reality setting in of, but how the heck's that going to happen? And that's what we're in now. We hit the excitement. Now we're in the, is it really going to? And we're seeing 20 different industries have Gutenberg moments at the same time. Something we've never seen. Very, very, very exciting, but with a lot of volatility, and it's going to disrupt people and things like we've never seen before. So I think I celebrate volatility because it typically historically means better returns. As long as companies are still doing well, we absolutely love it. The last thing I wanted to do on my section is I want to thank you for the introductions. We have had phenomenal introductions over the past 2 and 3 months. We continue to do what we do, and what you have done is continue to introduce us to people and friends of yours who you like, who we like, and we think would be great additions to the family and the community that we have here at Gentian. Our job is to continually get better and better, which we did a few days ago. We spent 2 or 3 days really working hard on some of the base proponents of what we call the true wealth mindset and empower wealth mindset, things we use in helping you gain perspective on what's important to you so that your money supports the most important things in your life, not frivolous things, what can cause confusion and maybe dissatisfaction. So as we do this, we know that money is simply a tool with which you use to support the great, I'm going to call it experiences, the core elements of life, and how you get back in the world. And sometimes that's to grandkids and others. So thank you tremendously for the introductions, which keep us, a growing firm, very healthy. Your rankings, and then remember, hear what I said, your rankings in the magazines are impressive. And I say it's you because it's your trust in us. So we want to make sure you know that, you understand it. You are very impressive when you're in those magazines. I appreciate you, and I wanted to just say those are the few things I wanted to go through. Ken, thank you tremendous. I know it was a longer Ken's Corner than normal, but I wanted to hop in.
Yeah, but it might have been the best Ken's Corner I've heard so far in a long time. So, there you go. So thank you very much, Chris, for your perspective and your wisdom there in almost 30 years of doing this, which is fantastic. You do bring that idea of, hey, we've been here before. We know how these moments work, and we know how to get through these times. And they're good times, and sometimes they're rough times, and it depends on where you are in the stage of investing. If you're in your 20s and 30s, you might embrace this and love it, but if your parents are in their 60s and 70s getting ready to retire, that can cause a little bit of a different feeling there for them. So just know that we do have you prepared for if you're retiring soon or already retired, we do have you prepared. We have money set aside for you for income. So whether we go through whether this is a head fake in the market, no one knows, right? We are seeing a little bit of a rebound in the last couple of days, but whatever it is, and we are prepared for you for that for a long period of time. So just
Ken, Ken, you say it well. I think human fear is swift and visceral. When corrections occur, they occur quickly because fear is an abyss, and it's really, really hits people hard. If you really study the amygdala, fight or flight. Oh my gosh, flight is so much quicker. But when it comes to positivity, it's slowly additive. It is slowly additive. So again, I think you've said that many, many times. And I wanted to bring that back too, because I think you, Zach, Mike, Michael, I think you guys have all put some great spin on this perspective. And that one has echoed with me for a long time too. I want to make sure we share that. Corrections are swift and visceral and always will be.
Absolutely. Yep. Well said. Well said. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. So let's head over to a little bit of the planning side of things and with Michael Berschbach. Michael, what do you have for us on the planning side?
Thank you, Ken. Today, I actually want to talk a little bit about a study I saw that another firm did. They interviewed over 1,500 married couples about some topics revolving retirement and finances. But the main points that they wanted to go through were the idea of retirement, how much they needed to save for retirement, and ultimately what they wanted their legacy to be with any assets left behind. So the overwhelmingly good news, so I'll paraphrase a little bit, couples overwhelmingly trusted each other and shared similar goals for retirement. So the key ideas that I took away from it, just a few statistics for you. 1 in 4 couples actually disagreed on how much money they wanted to leave behind for their children or grandchildren. 1 in 4 couples disagreed on how much they need to save for retirement, and about 1 in 5 couples disagreed on how much to spend for their lifestyle needs in retirement. So the key advice that we can provide on that is obviously communication and talking through those things, whether that involves your financial advisor, financial planner, or that stays between the two of you. We're more than happy to join in and help move along that conversation. Number 2 thing that I took away was about 52% of those couples they interviewed had not yet created any estate plan. So my piece of advice is just simply to stop putting off the estate planning part of things. It's extremely important, and you never know when that time will come. And if anything would possibly happen, you want to be prepared for that moment. Number 3, there was some misalignment on supporting adult family members financially, but not quite as bad as you think. But surprisingly, about 72% of those couples actually helped adult family members in some capacity, whether that was gifting during life, gifting during tougher moments, whether they were laid off or ran into some health issues. But only 15% of those couples actually disagreed on how they were helping their adult children. And ultimately, from this, success doesn't mean that you need to see eye to eye on all financial matters with your partner. Success is truthfully keeping those open lines of communication and making those decisions together, and just having those conversations. Thanks, Ken.
Yeah, Michael, thank you very much. That's an interesting study there, and that really kind of resonates with our experiences and what we hear as well. That's really interesting. I think that's almost spot on. And you know, it's one thing when a couple, we have a spender and a saver in a relationship, that tends to be okay. Some of the issues we see is that when there's 2 spenders, that's where we see some issues rise up. And again, when it comes back to, well, I'll bring this back to you guys that are listening right now. When we talk about using our money, it's fun to use our money. When we go through times where, like the last 12 years, 14 years, it's been wonderful. You know, we've been able to get away with buying a car here and there. We've been able to take a little extra out here and there. When we get to a tougher market, and I think we've said this before, this is where we put our financial planner cap on. And we're going to have some tough conversations, because we do need to make sure that our spending is intact and also on track for a long-term plan, right? Easy for us to say that, hard to do. We know that there's a lifestyle. We have lifestyles, right? It's hard to do, but it's important to keep that in the back of our minds and say, okay, is that really necessary at this time? And I think that will be the conversations if we do have that. And again, that's not all of you, but it's just a blanket statement saying, hey, let's keep our spending in check in these times where they're not so good temporarily, because that makes a big long-term difference on our plan, rather than trying to accomplish that short-term thing that we have in our mind. So yeah, Michael, that's a very good perspective there. So also caring for parents, you know, how do we do that? That looks different for every family. And so the whole idea of being a caregiver at some point in time in our life, it's a book we read in the last couple of years, that we all will probably be caregivers at some point in time in our lives. That's really an interesting piece there. And sometimes that requires patience, faith, and discipline, but it also can require some of the financial aspect of it as well that you're talking about, Michael. as well. So thank you for that. Chris, yes.
Hey, Ken, I know one thing that we've always talked about too is kind but fierce behavioral advice. One thing that we'll do as well is we'll put our, like Ken said, put our financial planning caps on. What we're noticing right now is because the markets have been pretty decent, a lot of people are actually pulling a significant amount of money out for certain things that they necessarily wouldn't at other times. And some of those are great, but we do want to make sure we measure those because a lot of people right now want to buy a car because rates are super high. They're 6 or 8 or 9%, and they're, $20, $30, $40,000 or more. And at times that's not going to be a really good idea. It may be a good idea to make payments over time instead, even at these rates, and maybe refinance it another time. But these are conversations we want to have as we go through. I think another thing I really forgot to tell you before was it's the Olympics. How many people have an Olympic hangover? What that is we're watching too much Olympics. It's okay. It's great to binge them. You can now record everything and watch it forever. But I tell you, for me, it's addictive. I'm watching the track and field. I'm watching the guy win the mile last night, which was incredible. The guy from Indianapolis. And I'm sorry if you recorded that. I didn't mean to ruin it. But there's a bunch of great stuff on right now. And it's really super cool to look at the patriotism that it brings when the Olympics come around, and then the camaraderie of the nation. So those are a couple things I really looked at. I thought that were very, very, very important. I think as well, Ken. I just wanted to throw that in there. But I think that the recession that everybody is talking about as well, I don't think we really hit too much on. The real worry everybody has is recession. I'm going to say one more piece on this for perspective. There are no straight lines in life. There may be a few for a short time, but they are not permanent straight lines. Recessions happen. They're healthy. They're normal. People freak out about them. We look at them as a healthy, normal part of life. So when they've been talking about recessions, people fritter up and down. They have no idea what it means. It doesn't mean the stock market's going to be horrible. It means it's going to maybe reset to put itself up to a higher. There's so many different things you'll find that when it comes to recession, people view it as a super negative. It's a super normal part of life, just like a rainy day. So Ken, I just want to throw those two things out I'd forgotten to mention before.
Yeah, appreciate it, Chris. Yeah, with the Olympics, it's, we all thought we were badminton backyard heroes, and all of a sudden you watch badminton in the Olympics and we're like, wow, that's a whole nother level, right?
Yes.
So yes, thank you for that piece. So we're going to round this out here and finish off with our very own Lisa Sheridan, and she is going to bring up the Gentian happenings for August and what is about to come. So Lisa.
Hi, thanks, Ken. Before I actually go into the happenings of what we're doing here at Gentian, I just wanted to let everybody know that the ADV delivery compliance paperwork that will be sent this month through Raymond James is going to be sent. And a lot of people who have client access can actually get this sent via e-delivery, which would be much better because this is going to be like a 100-page document that would be mailed out. So on the client access, there is actually a section called Other Communications that you can check, and then that will lead to getting this sent via e-delivery. After August the 19th, there's actually going to be a section that would be e-delivery consent form for the ADV. So after August 19th, you can do it that way also. If you haven't signed up for client access and you don't know how to do it, just let us know. We can sign you up right here, and then you just get an email to complete the process. So it'll be very beneficial for any client to have client access and this checked as the e-delivery. Otherwise, we will get a lot of mail, and you'll probably bring it to our shred event, which I will be talking about in just a second. So what we have going on this month in August, our birthday lunch for August is coming up pretty swiftly next week, Wednesday, August 14th. That's when we're going to have our next birthday lunch, which is always fun, especially when it's the summer month, because we can get to sit outside and enjoy this beautiful landscaping we have here at Gentian. And then August the 21st, we will have our other bi-weekly update. And then on the Monday, the 26th, we are doing our Health and Wealth with Michelle Norris. As always, anyone who has joined that before, it's very informative. This time we are doing Eating for Aging. So that'll be very good. I know we're going to have questions and people can send them in before that. And then, as I said, with the ADV, if you end up getting it in the mail, our shred event is on Monday, September the 9th. And that's a shred event and eat outside day. And that's going to be from 11 until 2. There'll be a time slot that you can come and you can bring all your shred in. And hopefully you've got our shred bags that we handed out last year. And we do have an electronics recycling also that day. So if you have any old fax machines, mobile phones, PCs, desktops, anything that you would like to get rid of, then please bring them along with you. And I think that kind of takes us into September, and that's too scary to go any further. So I will hand it back to Ken.
Thank you, Lisa. We appreciate that, and we look forward to seeing you at these events. We love those events. It really brings up a different conversation sometimes we have in our business meetings, if you will, together, right? So we appreciate those conversations a lot. You mean a lot to us, and we want to thank you for your time today. It's a beautiful day today. The sun is shining. It's kind of funny. It kind of reminds me of the markets a little bit. Sometimes the storms come in temporarily, and next thing you know, they pass. And look what we have today. We have beautiful sunny days. And just a couple of days ago, we had trees falling over. We had plants that you thought were in one spot, and you woke up the next day, they weren't there anymore, right? And so that reminds me a little bit of what the markets go through as well. So, but then here we are with the sunshine. Enjoy the day. Take the time to smell the flowers today. Thank you for being our friends. Thank you for being our clients. We appreciate you very, very much. And we also, like Chris mentioned, thank you for the introductions to the people you care about the most. We appreciate that very much and look forward to helping them as well as you continue on this journey of retirement planning together. So thank you very much. Enjoy your day. If you need us for anything, you know where to find us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks, bye, people.